Hello lads, I don't know if I'm going to end up using this or not, but if I do, it will be for good reason. I wanted y'all to know what Colin Liddell is, where he stands these days. Now, this is a very illuminating article, and it goes under the title, "Is Alvin Bragg an American Hero?" Now, it's under the name of Duns Scotus, but that is Colin Liddell, one of his many pseudonyms. So he's writing under a pseudonym to express this this notion that he's expressing here. But one shouldn't be tricked into thinking that this isn't where Colin Liddell actually stands right now, because it is. This is completely in line with the sort of ideas that he's been expressing as his own lately. So I don't want to read the whole thing. I just want to give y'all the basic gist of what he's saying here. So the article begins, predictably, the indictment of Donald Trump has become a simplistic red team versus blue team issue. If you're on Team Trump, Bragg is the bad guy, part of a Soros-backed conspiracy using frivolous charges to get Trump because he's the last bastion preventing the Babylonian ascendancy of an evil drag queen story hour culture. All right. If you're on the opposing team, you're all for stopping this evil, misogynistic, sub-racist monster by all means necessary, including using his own petty corruption against him. All right, so he's saying, red team is bad. Red team is saying stuff that he thinks is dumb. Blue team is also saying stuff that he thinks is dumb. But, as we'll see in a minute, where he really stands is pretty much with the blue team in the sense of their neoliberal foreign policy. That seems to be the biggest, most important thing to Colin Liddell these days, is to be interventionist in foreign policy, particularly when it comes to Ukraine and opposing Russia by any means necessary, seemingly. So the sort of thing is called not being able to see the wood for the trees, blah, blah, blah. What we're seeing here is basically a process of the American body politic to heal itself. Bullshit. Grow a bit of scar tissue and throw off the bacterial agents washing around in its bloodstream. Trump has been a frequent cause of high fevers in recent years. Sure, there may be legalistic issues involved in this latest case. Sure, the law might be being bent in new and unexpected ways. Yeah, I'll say. Sure, there's a hint of banana republic lawfare that undermines America's claim to stand for democracy. Blah, blah. Okay, so he says that, but, sure, you could say those things, but if looked for, those things have always been there. Legalistic purity is and has always been myth. Okay, true, but, so the American Constitution lost its virginity long ago. Laws are meant to be bent and imposed in lopsided ways. Come on, look at what happened at Charlottesville. This is nothing new. All right, so because unjust and unjust measures have been pursued, I mean, I don't think you need to even go back as far as Charlottesville. Just look at look at 2020 and everything that was imposed during that time period. It's like he's saying, yeah, the case against Trump is very weak, and it shows obviously a directed, politicized deep state, although he doesn't use those words, to target Trump in a way that no former president has ever been targeted before. But there have been other outrages in American law, unconstitutional outrages. So, why not another one? What's wrong with one more unconstitutional outrage? Because the American Constitution lost its virginity long, long ago. So, you know, yeah. I prefer to view political entities through an organic rather than a legalistic lens. Whatever the hell does that mean? An organic rather than a legalistic lens. So, what does organic mean? Organic means the law can be whatever you want it to mean, and that's, you know, that's true to the organic nature of a nation. So even if you have absolutely ridiculous, unfair cases being brought in order to further the political agenda of the entrenched and powerful, still that's, you know, that doesn't violate the organic nature of things. Whatever the hell that's supposed to be. That's just gobbledygook. It should be clear by now that America as a political entity has been under attack for the last few years. Okay, now we get to the meat of the story. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Bipartisanship was the watchword, with Dems and reps looking across the aisle and agreeing on the big stuff. However, in the early 21st century, now you're gonna get it in just a second. Just hang on. You're gonna see what's really going on here with Duns Scotus, which is again just a weak pseudonym for Colin Liddell. A window of opportunity opened where the system could be hacked and subverted. And guess who did the hacking and subverting? Okay, so he's still going on about this is filler. Okay. One of the forces unleashed by this was the alt-right, which you were a part of, Colin, as was I. An entity that started off as a legitimate critique of America and the West, but history will prove was co-opted, hijacked, and diverted to an ulterior agenda. Now we get to it here. You ready? Without having to point out all the smoking guns, this agenda was one that objectively served Kremlin interests. So you get that? The alt-right and Trump and everyone else who opposed American neoliberal foreign policy were just servants of the Kremlin, dupes of the Kremlin, as is well known. Okay, that's sources, please. As is well known, the Kremlin has long studied the ways to play up the divisions in Western societies. Okay, so this isn't. There's not a picture here, but Russia Today back in the day. I'm away from. I'm away from Wi-Fi right now, so but what you see here in this picture is Richard Spencer being interviewed on Russia Today, which somehow, I guess, is meant to be proof that the alt-right was just a Kremlin-backed thing, because Richard Spencer, who today is just as much of a deep state backer, just as much of a neo-lib as Colin Liddell is. But back in the day, he was on Russia Today. So, I mean, I don't know what. Anyway, moving on. The agenda with the alt-right and the rise of Trump was simple. Push down the neocons, and if that wasn't possible, simply create or exacerbate debilitating divisions. Colin Liddell, I remember when you were against the neocons. I remember when you invade regularly against the neocons, as did the man who was in this picture, Richard Spencer. He hated the neocons. He hated them so much that I thought he hated them more than he hated liberals. That was one of my big problems with Richard, which I've talked about before. Anyway, Trump was made to measure, blah, blah, blah. Neocons, by the way, were simply a well-intentioned group of elderly Jewish men some with roots in Marxism, cognizant of the difficulties of getting redneck America, that's nice, to do its duty of enforcing a global order which most, if not all, countries in the world and certainly most Americans benefited, from which most, if not all, countries in the world and certainly most Americans benefited. Most Americans benefited from neocon global power policy. Most Americans benefited from the war in Iraq. Most Americans benefited from interventionism in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe and umpteen other places across the world. I mean, average Americans are benefiting from the establishment of hundreds of American military bases in countries across the world. Really? Really? Show some receipts there, man. Tell us how we're better off because of neocon foreign policy. This group of well-intentioned elderly Jewish men. See, I don't even know. I think this might just be a big troll by Liddell. But it's... but I don't know. I'm not going to let him off the hook that easily, certainly. The result of this campaign of subversion, Americans were whipped up into becoming slavering, demented mobs and tribes that wanted to rip the eyeballs out of their rivals and piss into the bleeding sockets. Okay, wonderful imagery there. Just poetic. It is these same blind mobs with their ammonia-soaked eye holes who are now viewing the Trump indictment either as a parable of Christian martyrdom or the caging of a monster. Yes, there has been, hostilities have certainly been whipped up of late. You've got to show receipts, man, if you're going to say that it's because of the Kremlin, it's because Putin. They're the ones who have orchestrated all this mischief. Where do you get that from? How do you make that argument? I mean, I'm not denying that the Kremlin probably, has its agents who are doing things in America and elsewhere, but it's sure as fuck true that America has agents elsewhere in other nations, including Russia, doing stuff. So, an argument could be made, good for the goose, good for the gander, and nobody intervenes more in the affairs of the world. Nobody intervenes in elections more than the American deep state and the CIA and other such bodies. I mean, that's something that one can easily bring receipts for. But Colin Liddell or Duns Scotus here wants to make the claim that actually that's all been something that's benefited Americans. This endless interventionism and mischief and manipulation of events in countries across the world. It's benefited the world and it's benefited America. That's why everybody loves America now, right? Right, Colin? That's why everybody just thinks, that's why America is so popular among other nations right now. Because their foreign policy, their interventionist foreign policy under the CIA and the deep state and the like has just brought the world so much happiness. Really? He's really saying this. We saw this process begin in the immediate aftermath of Trump's astounding election victory in 2016. This was characterized, the creation of a new internet, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, the deep state and the neocons and neolibs freaked out and put pressure on social media to squash dissenting opinions. That happened. All this was a direct response to the alt-right, and it's IT apostrophe S. Should be ITS. You know better than that, Colin. Come on. You're from the mother country. You're from the UK. Correct that error. I bet I'll come back and I'll see it's corrected, which means that you'll know that Colin has watched this video, even though he'll choose to ignore it. Happened in order for American society to get whipped up against it. From around 2016, America started to get its cultural liver and kidneys back. Well, it was these that fortified the election and caught the Hunter Biden psyop and quashed it. Right where the Russians had strategically dumped it, on the doorstep of the election. You understand what he's saying here? He's saying it's a good thing. It's a good thing that the deep state, that the powers that be, prevented the Hunter Biden story from the Hunter Biden psyop from getting out. It's a good thing that they quashed it. I remember back in 2020, Colin Liddell, you saying, you expressing consternation, if not fury, about the social media companies quashing this story. You didn't call it a psyop back then. What changed, man? What changed? Are you just is this just some misanthropic troll that you're on, or are you getting paid to write this stuff? I don't know. It doesn't have a very large audience, so that makes me wonder whether the deep state would bother. Not that I have a huge audience either. I'm not one to talk, but still. But the divisions in America are still extremely potent, blah, blah, blah. There is even a sense that the establishment might be shutting the stable door after the horses have bolted. Bragg's attempt to bring down Trump may give the U.S. another burst of fever. So it would be fever. It would be sickness if the forces who opposed the CIA and the deep state and the neoliberals and foreign interventionism, it would be a fever if they were to prevail again. Those opposed to the entity that is America have few options to strike at and subvert it. In multi-party Europe, it's always possible to boost some small party with a thinly disguised Kremlin agenda. Greens, anti-NATO, Brexit, Scottish. So now he's against Brexit too. So now he's saying Brexit is a risky plot. Colin, I remember you staying up late as the Brexit votes were being totaled. I remember you writing out triumphantly, "Brexit wins," on your social media. What has happened? What has happened to you? Good God. And now it's a rusky plot. And now you're against it, I suppose. But even though this is your alter ego, and you're sort of being coy here in your language, but your message nevertheless remains clear. But in America, you have two giant parties, blah, blah, blah. In attempts to take over one of them are difficult, if not impossible. Communist-backed infiltration in the past was a slow and tedious process and merely strengthened the other party. But with Trump, they got what they wanted at a cut-rate pace. Okay, so Trump is just a Russian asset. Alt-right was just a Russian asset. Everything that opposes the neocons and the neolibs and their foreign intervention policy and the CIA is Kremlin backed. Okay, fine. Okay, blah blah blah. Trump came to represent an America that would shrink back from its role of underpinning the world order. Yeah, okay. And America first. That's a bad thing now to you. You want an interventionist America. Plus an America bitterly divided against itself, ready, as in 1861, to rip itself apart. Right, all because of the Kremlin, right? That's why this country is so divided. It's because the Kremlin has just is so powerful and has caused these severe divisions in America, which wouldn't be so prominent if the Kremlin weren't so powerful, working behind the scenes. Come on, what is this bullshit? Okay, but Trump is much weaker and indeed older than he was in 2016, but so is the fabric of America. So stopping Trump in some way, ending his career, forcing him into retirement, is an inherent goal of the American political entity. Only someone wrapped up in its tribal politics could fail to see this. So if you're reading this and not understanding, this probably describes you. If you don't agree with this attempt to railroad Trump through these trumped-up charges that do not follow due process, that are obviously politically motivated, and so forth, then you're just blinded by your tribal politics. Okay, boomer. Even if Bragg's lawfare assault on Trump succeeds in pushing him out of frontline politics, this will no means eradicate all the inherent divisions of America, but gelding Trump would push the country towards containing its divisions better and help diffuse the emotions and dark energy they create. If you hate aspects of America, as I do, while recognizing some of the positive effects of the U.S.-backed world order, you don't talk at all about anything that you don't like about American foreign policy here. I don't know. You seem to be absolutely positive towards what you talk about as America. You know, the true America, the good America, which is America intervening everywhere in the world. America meddling everywhere in the world. If you hate aspects of America while recognizing the positive effects of U.S.-backed world order, there you go. What are the positive effects of U.S.-backed world order? Name one. Name one. I mean, you sound, Colin, you sound like you belong back in 2005 as a Bush supporter. Saying, yeah, rah, rah, Bush, right? We gotta create a fire in the minds of men, just like Bush said in his inauguration speech in 2005, saying we gotta keep intervening everywhere in the world. That's our role. If you love America, as many on the dissident right claim to do, but only as a fantasy version of what they think America should be, then your feelings on the matter will be clear. Bragg is a blatant villain. But if you love America as it is, a big, ugly, fucked up country that nevertheless dominate. Okay, if it's a big, ugly, fucked up country, why should it be dominating the world? Nevertheless dominates the world and is not quite centralized enough to be really evil. What? So obviously it should determine the course of the world, and it should be influencing countries. It should be taking up proxy wars halfway around the world and intervening in border disputes that are centuries old, like the one right now, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Right. Then Bragg's attempt to kill the Orange Godzilla and his polarizing effect on American society could be seen as heroic. You see how weaselly he is? Don't be such a weasel, Colin / Dunce. Dunce. Don't be such a weasel. Just say it. If you think it's a good thing, if you think Alvin Bragg is an American hero and you think it's a good thing for America for neocon neoliberal interventionist foreign policy, which you used to oppose strongly, but now all of your previous convictions have been flung away because of spite, because you are a spiteful creature, and you just you just say it's the Kremlin. It's the Kremlin, but it's Russia, Russia, Russia. You sound like you sound like Hillary Clinton. You truly do. And you were against Hillary Clinton back in 2016. You didn't want to see her elected. But I bet you would. I bet if the you of now went back to 2016, you'd be rooting for Hillary. What's become of you, man? What has happened to Colin Liddell? Over and out.